welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to 6 American Things I Can No Longer Live Without Part 2. We done Part 1 probably like 2 months ago. I reacted to that, and there were some things that I didn't really know about, like the Adirondack chairs. That's something that I'd never seen before, but yeah, that was just a little insight into, I guess, American things that I'd never heard of before. And yeah, we're going to just do another reaction, and hopefully there's a lot more things here that I've never really seen before, or stuff that I can actually relate to. Maybe there are also things that are in the UK or in England now, but we'll see as this video goes along. But hopefully going to enjoy, hopefully you're all doing well. Let's jump into this reaction and see some of these things that he can no longer live without.
Hello. Last month, I did a video called 6 American Things That I Can No Longer Live Without. And at the end of that video, I made the mistake of saying this. And if this video does well, my producers say, then we'll do a part 2. If it tanks, then we'll just push that part 2 under the rug. Unfortunately, my producers won because that video has been watched 500,000 times.
Damn.
Clearly, a popular video with my subscribers. And if you are not yet subscribed, do that now. In the meantime, this is part 2. One problem with having
baseball caps. This is such an interesting. Like, do like what percentage of Americans, say you're out on the street, what percentage of Americans or people just walking in the streets will you see wearing a baseball cap? Because in the UK, I mean, there's not really sunlight a lot of the year, so that's probably part of it. But they're not really common. Like, I've done a video yesterday about how I'm back in education, right, and I'm in college, and I feel like that's the sort of place you would see people wearing caps. Bro, I don't see it at all. I guess in the US, depends where you are. Probably sunnier places it's more common, but even then it's probably not even how it really even is. I don't actually know if it's a relation to sunlight and wearing caps. Probably to a degree, but maybe just a cultural thing in the US as well. I mean, Chicago's not always going to be sunny, is it? But
really rubbish British hair is that it blows around on a windy day.
British hair? Not all British hair is rubbish.
Really rubbish British hair is that it blows around on a windy day like today.
Mine's
and
the
so,
same.
As somebody who used to not like hats because I had good hair, I never thought in a million years I would end up being a fan of this first entry. And that is...
My head's way too big. I just could never wear hats.
Ball cap. Anybody who's been watching my videos now for a while will know that I often wear these in videos, not just because I have rubbish hair, but sometimes because I'm a very busy man and I don't always have time to shower. Now, some have said that this, as well as previously my beard, are indicators that I had slowly morphed into a Midwestern man. And it's true. I definitely feel that with all of my heart. And the simple baseball cap, while certainly not the height of cool, keeps the sun out of your eyes. And what better way to showcase that to you than standing with the sun behind me? So just... yeah, it does, it works. I can see the trees and not much else. I'm going to turn back around now. Now, don't be under the misconception that we don't have baseball caps in the UK. I think they are usually worn by very specific people who want to look trendy, which is ironic. But here, you'll see all manner of people wearing them. I was speaking to my patrons the other day about how it's not uncommon to see even senior citizens wearing them, along with their tennis shoes and jeans. And that's a look that is almost unimaginable among seniors in the UK. True. At least seniors that would be the equivalent of my granddad. In other words, they were born in the earlier
My girlfriend's dad wears hats. He's always wearing a hat, to be fair, but he does live in Romania, and I feel like it's a lot sunnier there than in the UK as well. Not, I don't feel like it is. It is just more sunny. So yeah, I guess maybe it's just a British thing.
20th century, and I think it's just because, you know, back in the 1930s people were wearing jeans here, and baseball was a big thing, so I imagine these took off and were really cool. So now I'm embracing my inner American grandpa. So now that I've got that off my chest, I'm gonna go back inside.
Okay. Fair enough.
But it's not
health insurance cards. What is that?
The things that I keep on my head, it's also the things I keep in my wallet. And you might be thinking, ooh, are we going to see Lawrence's debit card so that we can pair this with his mother's maiden name and steal all of his cash? And the answer is no. And you might also be thinking, maybe he's going to whip out his social security card. But between you and me, that is a card that I can live without, because I did for about 4 years after my wallet was stolen and possibly my identity. No, the wallet in question is this. It's a health insurance card. And you might be thinking, Lawrence, do you not have these in Britain? And the answer to that is not really.
I've never heard of a health insurance card.
Firstly, a UK national insurance card is kind of similar to an American...
I've not got a national insurance card either.
Social security card, in that you are issued one and you're supposed to keep that one for life.
I've never been given one. What's that about?
Like an SSN, a national insurance number is used to track an individual's social security contributions and taxes, and is not itself evidence of a private health insurance plan because, well, everyone in the UK is covered under the National Health Service. Whereas because my insurance here in the United States expires on a yearly basis, so too do these cards. So I have to update them every year, and my wife will tell you that I end up having about 4 of them in my wallet with different expiration dates on because I am lazy and forget to throw them out. I mean, that's the same with hotel keys. But the point is, they're on this list because I can't live without them, and that's almost literally true. You know, if I get hospitalized in a freakish vending machine related incident, then they're going to ask for it. And if I don't have it, then they'll probably just look up my details. And then my hope is that the insurance covers most of the cost of a freakish vending machine related incident. It depends on the injury. In America, companies with 50 or more employees must provide health insurance or face substantial fines. On the other hand, self-employed humans like me usually have to get our healthcare through the health insurance marketplace. Healthcare is one of many expenditures that businesses, big and small, need to track, which is why you should check out today's sponsor, Odoo. Odoo is an all-in-one
secure the bag. Wait, let's give him his little cheeky discount code. What am I saying?
By a strong aesthetic. I love having all of these apps housed together in one visually appealing menu. Better yet, your first application is free for life. So, click the link in the description to get started. You know, when I put together these lists of
this is definitely... I've never lived in a house with a basement. And I would have loved to have a basement because I feel like it's a place that you could turn in... Or it could either be a storage room, which is, I feel like, what most people do. Or you can turn it into, like, a games room or, like, I don't know... Just like an area to just I don't know, what's it called? Is it a bachelor pad? Is that the term that I'm looking for? To like watch sports and just have games, like a games room as well, like all this sort of stuff. Like it would just be absolutely class. But I don't think most people would actually do that with them. Like you probably just use it for storage, which is also fair enough.
American things that I can no longer live without. Some of them are not literal. That's just a phrase that you use in order to generate clicks. And then some of them might actually save my life. And one of those is an area of my house that I'm sitting in right now known as the basement. And you might be thinking, Lawrence, again, surely you have basements in the UK. And yes, there are some houses that are built with basements, but you're not going to find it in most houses. I didn't growing up. And there might be some Americans from the southern United States saying things like, Lawrence, we don't have basements out here either. What are you talking about? Well, I live out here in the Midwest, and most houses and or apartments that I've ever lived in do have a basement or two. No building has 2 basements.
Apartments? Wait, is there apartments in the US that have basements as well?
I don't know why I said that. Just one. And the reason that my basement could one day potentially be a lifesaver is not just because we're going to have nuclear war, but also I'm learning more and more that the United States is a breeding ground for tornadoes. And in the last 2 years, I must have experienced about 10 tornado warnings. Now, most of the time, nothing happens. You get your pets together, you head down to the basement, you hunker down there for about half an hour, and then it's done. And you go back up and you wonder why I even bothered. But as somebody who has seen the film Twister, I know that these can be real events that destroy homes. And if that were to occur, I've got nowhere else to go that would stop my face from being blown clean off. Now, you have to find a part of the basement that doesn't have windows. The same would be true in a nuclear catastrophe. Just the other day, I watched a made-for-TV movie from the 80s called The Day After, and they put mud in front of the windows. And the family in this film also left their dog upstairs to die.
Rookie mistake.
Like a lot of things that I love about America. I think this one goes back to my childhood when I would experience American diners through the medium of film and television. Because in Hollywood, it always feels like American diners are these really warm, ambience-filled eateries where people can conspire to take over the world or save it from people who want to take over the world. And so that gives them this weird sense of adventure. So even if it's like a Saturday morning and we've got nothing better to do, but we just want to go get breakfast, I go there with a big jolly smile on my face. I am smiling. This is how British people smile. Because it perpetually feels like you're in a movie. Now, you might think, Lawrence, that's really immature. Grow up. Well, the truth is, as I've said on this channel many a time, the things we usually see in American movies are heightened stereotypes of what American life actually is like. And so what you see in the movies isn't a fair depiction of what American life is like. So I like to make an exception for diners. I pretend I'm Dr. Richard Kimball in The Fugitive, and we have to get away from Tommy Lee Jones. And as it turns out, Chicago is not the place to do that. And speaking of food going
waste
down,
disposal.
there is one element
I
of
feel like this
US...
would be pretty cool to have. The only issue with these is I feel like I'd be stupid enough to stick my finger in them. Like, there's definitely been cases where people have got their fingers trapped in a waste disposal. Although, who's stupid enough to put their fingers down their sink? Actually, I'm saying I definitely wouldn't do that, because I wouldn't even... My sink usually gets it, because with my sink, you've got like the sink, and then you've got like a little protection bit that sort of... What's it called? What's the protection bit called? It acts as a plug, but also you can hold it, like you can sort of have it not plugged in so water can seep out when obviously you're finished, but then it collects all the food, whatever that's called. That's what I've got. And sometimes sometimes food gets through that, and then there's actually food in the sink, so you got to clean that out. But I guess in the US it just goes through and you put food through it anyway. That's the whole point. Yeah, this would be a pretty useful thing, to be honest.
Kitchen that I cannot believe I went without for so long. And that is something that I spoke about a few years ago called a waste disposal unit that are usually housed within inside a sink. They're amazing. All of that gunk and that remains on your dinner plate as you place it into the sink doesn't have to clog up your sink in American kitchens, because you just flick a switch and suddenly it chops up all of that waste.
Oh, so it also only just goes when you turn a switch on. Oh, see, then you're guaranteed to not get your finger trapped unless you're genuinely just not a human being, like you're a dog or something. Like you got to press a button whilst your finger's in it. Who's stupid enough to do that, hey? Who's stupid enough? Don't say there's someone in the comments now saying they've done that. Please don't.
Just goes away. Now, I say that I can no longer live without one of these. Every single apartment that I've ever lived in has had one. But this house, which did come equipped with an extravagant and honestly very needless sensor-operated faucet, does not have a waste disposal unit. And this, for me, has been the source of deep, deep despair. Because very often while I'm doing dishes, the sink gets clogged up. And do you think a YouTube sensation like me wants to spend his time unblocking a sink? I am relatable. Anyway, once again, all of this has made me very angry, so I need once more to go outside.
And is it expensive to get it fitted in? Like, does your whole plumbing system have to be able to actually handle it? Maybe it's just not possible then.
As we are deep into the throes of my favourite...
What was this one?
Side.
Autumn. American autumn.
And that's because we are deep into the throes of my favourite season, autumn, or as it's known here, autumn.
I tell you what, for the first time I had like an autumn hot chocolate at a restaurant. It was cinnamon, like obviously hot chocolate, cinnamon, there was cream in it. And it's wild, right, how a drink can actually taste like autumn. But it just did, and it was so good. And I can sort of understand how it can just be a warming feeling, because having a taste associated with the season, I don't really think you have a taste associated with winter or summer. Maybe summer's just like fruity alcoholic drinks or something like that, or like slushies or stuff like that, but I don't know. With autumn, that drink genuinely tastes like it's the taste of the visual representation of like a leaf that's turning brown, and like leaves that have fallen to the ground. It's weird. I've just had my first sort of autumn experience, so I can actually understand, because especially if you're like in a state where maybe the autumns are even more beautiful and stuff, it just makes it feel more warming, I guess. I'm just talking out my arse now, but
also fall. And I have to say, I don't know that anywhere on earth does fall quite like the United States. Don't get me wrong, I love autumn in Britain with its bonfires and burned effigies, but it's always so drizzly. So it means that when these beautiful orange leaves fall from the trees, they quickly become a slushy mess in the road. And
yes.
Here, it feels like in Chicago there's a lot less precipitation, even though that's maybe not true. If we do get rain, it's usually one huge downpour, but then you have a lot of days in a row where there's no rain, and those leaves come down. They're nice, they're beautiful, and they stay dry, and they're good to look at until you take your dog for a walk and he all over them. And again, it's not that Britain doesn't have these lovely leaves. It's just that pound for pound, Britain doesn't have as many trees as the eastern United States. I don't know what he's doing. And so when you're driving through Appalachia, you're just surrounded by this big landscape all the time that feels like a Bob Ross painting. And as somebody who's had the good fortune to experience autumn in Appalachia, as well as southern Indiana and here in Chicago, I don't think autumn will ever be the same anywhere else. And that includes England, who nonetheless do have summers and winters that aren't entirely unfit for humans. Anyway, let me know how your autumn is going, and until part 3, goodbye.
There we go. There we go. Part 3, Lawrence goes to Menards to purchase the incinerator, that's a good one, of his dreams just in time to grind up the Thanksgiving. What the hell is that? Detritus. What the hell is a detritus? I don't know how to say that word. I could be absolutely butchering that. I definitely am. As a fellow Midwesterner, I will say this. One of us. A lot of older men wear baseball caps to protect their balding heads from sun exposure. Skin cancer is nothing to mess around with. That's a very fair point. That is a very fair point, to be honest. A new American citizen with a copy of the Federalist Papers in the background. Quite impressive, sir. Quite impressive. Well, there we go. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this reaction. Let me know your thoughts on this. In terms of things... there's not one of the ones where you can sort of just go through, is it? In terms of the things he mentioned, what was the... There was one that I can't remember. I can't remember which one it was. Why is it not... Okay, I can't remember which. Then actually, yeah, the card one.
Years after my wallet.
That was an interesting one, like carrying your health insurance card or something. But I guess maybe it's a lot more important in the US. I don't really know, but yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. I think I've just said this already. Until next time, like, subscribe, and peace.